Welcome to the Entrepreneur's MBA, bringing you lessons from real-life entrepreneurs they don't teach in business school. Here's your host, business coach and marketing strategist, Adam Kipnes.
Welcome to today's episode of the Entrepreneur's MBA. I'm your host, Adam Kipnes. At the Entrepreneur's MBA, we talk about business lessons that just can't be learned in school. There are things that happen in life and in business that we can't always prepare for, but if we learn from people who have been through them, we can have our eyes open when they come up in our lives. In my world, I focus on helping clients get more revenue, get new clients, build more revenue and profit. Definitely download my book at freebookfromadam.com. There are 8 strategies that you can implement today to drive more revenue without spending money on marketing or advertising. And so that helps on the revenue side, but there's so much more to building a business. And I'm so excited to have Ron Carucci from Navalent here to talk about the business building side of it. He is an expert in leadership, in business strategy, business structure, and taking a startup to success. He's got 8 books. He's been in the Harvard Business Review. He's got TEDx presentations. Ron, thanks so much for joining today. I really appreciate it.
Adam, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I want to start a little bit with where you started in this current business, but also what's leading up to it. You had told me that you didn't have this, I'm going to start a business and make it big entrepreneurial dream. While it may have been in there somewhere, it wasn't why you started the business. Can you tell us a little bit about how it got going in the first place?
Sure. So a couple of close friends of mine and I were working at a very large consulting firm in New York City. And when that firm, it was a mid-sized firm. It got sold to a much larger firm. And, you know, if anybody's ever been part of an acquisition, you know that that process can be a little bit messy. And once we were part of this larger firm as partners in that firm, you know, the game changed. We love our craft. We love, you know, organizational work is a passion for us. And once you became part of leading a larger firm, you know, your focus needed to shift. It was more about feeding the dinosaur, about feeding the revenue machine and keeping the growth going globally, and less about the craft and less about the science of what we did. And that quickly became not fun. And I think over the course of a couple of years after the deal, we thought, gosh, we still can have our dream. We still can do what we love to do. We can still serve clients the way we want to serve them. We don't have to do it here. And so we set off on our own to start. So we no longer needed to do it at that firm. We could do it on our own. So we set off to begin the work together on our firm. I don't think we set off to say, let's go build our own firm. We simply thought, let's go do this work we love to do and keep it the main focus of our lives and enjoy working together, enjoy people we care about, and enjoy caring for our clients and getting better at what we do. I think that's as really much of an ambition as we had when we began. As it turns out, 14 years later, we've now grown a wonderful boutique firm and have people who share our passion and love for serving clients and share our passion for each other.
It's interesting that you say that you focused on the client, you focused on the work that you were doing, and the business grew. I know a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, that the business is the focus. And that's not to say they're not thinking about their clients, but they almost can't help to think about the business and to build a quote-unquote business. How did you not? Right? How did that not creep up?
It's an interesting question, Adam. I think so many entrepreneurs that I work with and that I coach struggle with the difference between working in the business and working on the business. And there's a tightrope there that you have to walk. I think over the years, one of our downfalls has been that we didn't spend enough time working on the business because the three of us as owners spend so much time working in it and doing a lot of the selling work and developing our junior partners and our senior consultants and others in the firm. And so if I would say that I give us one place of a demerit, it has been that we haven't built sufficient mechanisms to sustain scaling as a business. We never had aspirations to grow a very large, $50 million firm. That was never our goal. We're much more of a lifestyle firm where we care about our work, we care about our families, our financial goals are set around everybody's individual income needs. We're not responsible to advisory boards or shareholders. So we have the luxury of living our lives as part of our firm because our work is so much a part of who we are. The thing I would caution against so many entrepreneurs who hear the advice, just do what you're passionate about and the money will follow. I think that is such bullcrap advice, and it's not true. Passion is a great thing to have. You should love what you do, but if you're not good at it, you shouldn't assume you're going to get paid for it. And so, it's a cautionary tale. We were very fortunate to be good at what we did. We worked in the preeminent firm of our field, and we had been trained around the best practitioners there were. So we entered the marketplace already with a reputation and already having a skill set that was distinctive among our peers. And so, it's one thing to love and be passionate about what you do and let the money follow, but you need to be really, really good at what you do, because these days it's unlikely, unless you develop some very sophisticated technology that's cutting edge, it's unlikely that there's not somebody else up the street also offering what you offer. And so if you can't be competitively distinct enough to invite the clients you want to choose you over others, then it's unlikely that the money's going to follow.
And there's a saying that different is better than better, which is very interesting. But what you're saying is sort of a next level of that is you have to be good and then find a way to be different than your competitors.
Well, I think you have to be both. I don't know in this day and age, the barriers to entry to most businesses, to most startups, to most franchisees are very difficult. And, a franchise model, at least you borrow someone else's brand for a while. But if you're starting up, your own, whatever it is, from scratch, it's a crowded, cluttered marketplace out there. And the digital space to attract clients, which is the most economical way to do it, is so noisy and so cluttered. And so standing out from among the crowd, no matter what it is you're doing, can be a difficult thing to do. And we all unfortunately have been all conditioned to look at social media and think, oh my gosh, we can all be overnight sensations. Look at these people on YouTube and Instagram. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars now just because they look pretty and walk up and down the street and talk about products. Well, the truth of the matter is it takes about 10 years to be an overnight sensation. And it takes a lot more grit than so many entrepreneurs want to believe. We are so conditioned to want instant success and believe that it's possible that most entrepreneurs lose their steam, or they get depressed, or they get frustrated, or they give up when the moment real tenacity and real perseverance are required.
And that's true in careers. That's true in business. Obviously, that's true just in life. Is that tenacity to overcome roadblocks, hurdles, and things that come up in life. When you're working with, whether it's executives or business owners, what are some tenets that you help them with in order to continue to see that path and to overcome?
There's a couple of things I see many entrepreneurs or people starting businesses fall into the same trap of. And the first one is that question of identity, that question of who are you to the marketplace? Who are you as opposed to those that your prospective clients might choose? And so often when I ask, well, tell me your strategy, I get all kinds of counterfeits. I get a mission statement, or I get a vision statement, or I get the business plan they handed to the Series B funders or the venture capital fund, or I get the product quota for the year, or I get Costco called, that's the order, that's the strategy. I get some forgery of real identity. And I push and I say, that's all very interesting, but tell me who you are. Tell me why you're better at what you do than anybody else. What you're at parity on, and what is the reason you want the right clients to choose you. But so often, when you have lights to keep on and mouths to feed and payrolls to make. You chase any dollar you can get. And so you become so many things to so many people, you aren't really that distinct. Especially if you're entering a field or in a business or an industry that's fairly commoditized or fairly wide-reaching. And so many entrepreneurs convince themselves in their heads that, oh, but I'm better than anybody else. And I say, well, you may well be. But so all your competitors say the same thing about themselves, so why would people believe you? And I think the work to create competitive distinction, to create a swim lane in which you have earned your right to win and compete, and to stay that course, and ultimately the hardest thing for entrepreneurs is to say no to the sexy, shiny objects du jour that you feel like you could chase in the service of committing a narrowed focus and a narrowed set of resources to the thing you want to be good at long term. And once you do that, then you can just make decisions about organization and leadership and investments. But so often, entrepreneurs are trying to figure out what marketing investments to make and who to hire and where to locate their work, and they're just chasing these decisions with no sense of what basis to make them on. And so you see startups all the time. We hired 50 people this month. It's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, and you're driving people crazy too. They're not happy. You think they're thriving on this energy, but they're exhausted. And so the work to scale and grow a business, which are different things, most entrepreneurs confuse. They grow, but they don't scale. And so often when I enter a story, it's an entrepreneur who's now has a $10 million company, and it's a classic $10 million company trapped in the body of a $3 million organization. It's like the teenage boy wearing his dad's suit. They haven't grown into themselves yet, and you can hear the seams ripping. And so the discipline to learn to scale and add revenue faster than you add cost takes a level of precision and thoughtfulness that so many entrepreneurs didn't go into their businesses knowing they needed.
Very interesting that $10 million company in a $3 million business, or I like the way you put it, the young boy wearing the father's suit. I know, and I've worked with companies like that, that's the time that they rewrite their mission statement and they talk about their core values and they try and put this new face on what they're doing. How do you help businesses, and what guidance can you give to businesses that are struggling like that? Rather than trying to put words on top of what you're doing, how do you get them to refocus on the core and the soul of what they do for that better business, rather than words to try and make a better business?
That's such a great question, Adam. And you know what? I love your example of the counterfeit. Go back to the mission statement and the values. So the dangerous partial good instinct there is that there is an impulse to return to basics. That's the good part. It's the wrong basics, though, right? You can't lipstick the pig and have it look pretty. You have to go back and do the work of strategy. You have to go back and really lay out your fundamental competitive basis. What are the 3 or 4 capabilities that you're going to invest in, that if you put $1 in, $5 comes in the door? You have the market data proof that you have a right to win, that if somebody wants what you believe you're offering. So many times, I'm sure you've seen this a lot of times too, Adam, the thing the entrepreneur is selling is not the thing that the people are buying. You're all enamored and think, what you got is all that in a bag of chips, but the thing they're buying is a solution to a problem you didn't even know you were solving. And so you got to start from the outside in. And to your point, the center of gravity shifts so far inside the company, and then they become navel gazers. They lose sight of the people they came to serve. And you've got to really shift your focus to outside the organization and start with the basics of what are the 3 or 4 things that are going to set us apart, and what are the capabilities we have to invest in to deliver on that promise, and say no to everything else. It may mean firing clients. It may mean narrowing your focus for a season and building the fundamental scalability People here in entrepreneurial environments hear the word standardization and they freak out. They think, oh, you're going to constrain my creativity. I have to have maneuvering room and all these excuses. Well, the reality is standardization is not an impediment to innovation. Standardization is a liberator of innovation. Disciplining yourself to create repeatability is where your scalability is. And that's what should free up your capacity to innovate in the areas you're good at. But so often you see people reinventing the wheel. You walk into the shipping department where they ship out products and everybody's packaging things different ways across the room, right? Just little things like that even tell you that the disciplines needed to be in place to scale are not there. So you've got to go back to basics. You've got to do the work of strategy before you can do the work of organization. The second thing you've got to do then is look at your work. Not all work is created equal. We try to create these environments where everybody feels good and everybody is treated like equals, and all the people who didn't want to work for big corporate America came here because they wanted to give their lives to a startup and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is not all work is created equal, and you can't treat it that way. There is some work that's competitive. There's work that is truly the most distinctive work you do that sets you apart, that delivers on that competitive promise. That should be getting the most money and the most talent. There's work that's competitive enabling that supports that work, and then probably 50 or 60% of what you do is necessary work. It keeps the lights on. You don't have to be better than anybody else. You just have to do it and keep out of jail. Well, the minute you mix the necessary work with the competitive work is diluted. Right? The urgency of keeping the lights on takes over the long-term work of staying competitively distinct and being truly world-class at something. And so you've got to organize your work in a way that protects and separates competitive work from competitive enabling work from necessary work. But you can't do that till you know what the competitive basis is. And that will tell you where to invest. That will tell you where to spend your money. That will tell you what kind of talent to hire and where and for what. And that'll begin to help you build the last part of the work, which is leadership. What kind of leaders do you need to lead that work? So often the entrepreneur themselves is leading at four different levels. How many times have you walked in and seen the quote-unquote CEO is also the CMO, the CHRO, the COO, the CFO? They're doing all the jobs, and all roads lead to them. And so you've not distributed decision-making. You've not empowered others to make choices outside of you. And most dangerously, the identity of your organization is way too linked to your own identity. And you are the face of the organization in a very incestuous way. And that's one of the biggest deaths of scalability. When you decide that you have to make yourself indispensable, you begin to suffocate your own business. And we've all seen entrepreneurs do it unwittingly. So get strategy, organize the work correctly, and build in leadership capability beneath you. Those are the three things that we get entrepreneurs to begin the hard work of doing, so that they can the babies they created so passionately can actually grow up.
Yes, and for the listeners, whether you're a sole practitioner doing your own thing, or whether you're a $10 or $20 million company, those three things are still there. Even if you're a sole proprietor, a solopreneur. There really is no such thing as a solopreneur, because you've got things going on and you have people that are supporting you, whether it's your technology vendor or whether it's the internet service that's coming into your building. Without internet, you might not have a company anymore. And you still need to understand the competitive advantage and have those people on your team, those vendors working with you. And you still need to be a leader of those different vendors and the people you're working with. So when you're working with a big company or a small company, how do you help them see all of the disparate parts of their organization, big or small, without getting overwhelmed?
Well, it's a great question, Adam. All of our work starts with a really forensic diagnostic work. It's our MRI. So we start with a deep look under the hood to understand what's going on, and we look at the organization systemically. So we look at strategy, leadership, governance, process, culture, talent, and we organize our MRI systemically. So we can look at, and we teach people that your organization and your org chart are different things, right? Don't show me an org chart. It tells me nothing about who you are. It just tells me who reports to who. But we look at a holistic picture of who you say you are. An organization is nothing more than an embodiment of a strategy, right? You should organize and configure your assets for the purposes of delivering a strategy. If you don't know what your strategy is, then you can almost assume everything's configured poorly or suboptimally. So our diagnostic does look at things holistically, and once that data is revealed, and once we processed what the MRI is telling us, we start with the first question of identity and strategy. Have you articulated and embodied a viable competitive identity? Does the world around you understand you that way? And if not, what's the disconnect? And once we can answer that confidently, then the question becomes, okay, well, have you configured the organization in a way that enables it to execute that strategy? Do you have the talent, the processes, the governance structures, the culture, the organizational reward systems in place that all mutually reinforce and consistently work together congruently to deliver that strategy? And if not, where it's broken, we say go fix it. Now, to your point about being overwhelmed, the data may reveal far more challenges or opportunities than you can, physically absorb or financially invest in. So we have to prioritize, right? So it may say, okay, over the coming 3 to 5 years, here's your order of battle. Here's where you ought to start. So you lay out a transformational plan. People always want to say, well, can I just do this in a couple of weeks? And my answer is always, well, it took you 5 years to screw it up. So you shouldn't assume that you're going to be able to fix it in 5 minutes. You've got to be willing to, unless someone infuses you with a lot of capital out of nowhere, which is usually unlikely, you're going to have to stay the course and regroup, redirect, build for the long term over a period of usually several years, not several months.
And then continue to utilize those new learnings in the greater growth of the business without getting sidetracked in the next shiny penny, right?
That's right. That's right.
So to think about that, I want to use you as a bit of a metaphor for the other for businesses out there. So you've got your business, you've got your clients, you've got the people that you're taking care of, but you're also obviously part of your organization and your company to make sure it's running well. You've written 8 books. You've featured in Forbes, Harvard Business Review. You've given TEDx talks. Those are a lot of things that ultimately help build the brand of the business and your brand. But they're things that can take your eye off of your clients and off of your business. So how did you prioritize these different avenues that you put yourself in without doing it at the expense of the business?
That's a question, and that's a fabulous question, Adam, and it wasn't easy. It's only been the last 3 or 4 years that a lot of that work came to be. The books happened over the last 15 years, but about 3.5 years ago, I hired a coach. For me, I felt like I was sputtering, like I was not able to attract the kinds of clients I wanted at the quality level I wanted them at, and I thought I was doing all that I was supposed to be doing to set myself apart, to demonstrate the thought leadership of my firm, and my firm was having to get far more serious about demand creation and digital marketing and figuring out what digital swim lanes it wanted it to swim in, because we had so much of our business had come from referrals. Or repeat clients that would move to other organizations. And so, we knew that wasn't sustainable, but it took us a long time to finally get the wake-up call that we had to build our own go-to-market machinery and our own demand creation machinery, but that was going slow, and I felt like I needed to go a little faster, so I went and hired a coach for myself, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. And lo and behold, not only did I not know what to do, the things that I thought I was doing that were correct weren't even in the right galaxy. And so when my coach came back with her diagnostic work, I'm like, wow, this is what it's like to be on the other side of me. Like I'm taking my own medicine here. And that felt terrifying, but good. But I learned that I was doing none of the activities I needed to do to truly set myself apart and let people know, what I could offer them or how I could help them solve important problems. And so about 3 years ago, we set course, with a lot of help from my coach, to do the necessary work, which I was, for me, the frustration was I felt like I was really behind. I was at a point in my career where I thought, why should I have to do this now? But no point in asking that. The answer is you do, right? So I needed to get over myself pretty quickly and get on with it. And so for the last 3 years, it's been, all the intense activities you're seeing, writing 100 or so articles for Forbes and HBR, doing over 160 podcasts like this one, 2 TEDx talks, a Google Authors talk, an HBR whiteboard session. All of that body of work has all come just in the last 3+ years. So it was very much like a second job. Because I still had to, lead my client engagements, sell more work for the firm, feed the firm, and deliver my clients to pay my own bills. Because I don't get paid for any of this stuff. But it is intended to make me more findable to the kinds of clients I want to serve. Had I been doing it over the last 7 or 8 years, it might be different for us now. But so for me, it felt like a lot of catch up. It's a lot of work. For entrepreneurs, I can't stress enough. You've got to build your go-to-market demand creation work build it into your organization from the very beginning. Create a culture. None of us want the sort of the dog eat dog, kinds of eat what you kill hunting cultures that make it unpleasant to work there, right? So we don't want that. But the other extreme is to have a very laissez-faire culture of people who just assume, someone's going to shake a tree and money's going to come in. That's not good either. You have to find the balance that works for whatever business you're in to attract the clients you need to attract and have a steady pipeline of prospects that you can choose from and hopefully get to the place where you're getting to choose who you want to work with. None of us, no startup business has enough business that it can keep, you can keep up with the growth if you're attracting the right demand, right? So at some point, when you earn your right to be choiceful about that, when you earn your right to be selective, that's when you're really in the driver's seat.
Right, and you just mentioned 3 really important things that we hear and some of us may know, but we don't always do. One is when you decided you needed to grow the business and that you wanted to step out of your comfort zone and get more exposure, you had a strategy around it. You didn't write a book and hope that book would sell itself. You wrote those books and you did these talks with a purpose of how you would utilize them. So for those out there, don't just write a book and think it's going to bring you clients. Have a strategy of how you're going to use that book. And then 2, you hired a coach, and that coach you probably hired for an explicit purpose, but they took you in a different direction because you had blind spots. And then once you had the platform and your coach had you fixing those blind spots, you were able to use those as leadership techniques for the rest of your firm to say, hey, here's a way to do it. And now you're giving back to people like the audience listening on how you did it. So did all those 3 things, were those all part of the initial strategy? Or
Adam, I would say you are overly generous to me in two of the 3. Way overly generous to me in 2 of the 3. I would say the middle one, hiring the coach, was the one I was most intentional about. But I will tell you that most of the books, it was even the bestseller one, the Rise to Power one, was far more of what you said not to do than it was far more of the if you write it, they will come belief. Had I had a better strategy for it, the research got the recognition afterwards in HBR. The growth of the book came much after the book, a year or 2 after. I went into that book clueless as to I had golden research. I had incredible, platinum standard findings in this data, and I had no idea. And when it blew up virally, we were flat-footed. We had no idea what to do. And for me, that was one of those I'm never going to get here again moments. The last one about in terms of the firm, again, you're overly kind. I would say the firm is beginning to get it. I think we're starting to learn. We're investing in the right marketing dollars and we tried to do it ourselves and bootstrap it. That didn't work. We have outsiders now who are experts. Certainly over the last 3 years, we launched the magazine 3 years ago. We had the ebook. So we have some basis of a platform. And now, yes, my my platform is enabling the firms to grow its platform, and now we're getting more intentional about that. But I would hardly say it's been a natural act to get there.
well, it sounds natural, and the good thing about a forum like this is, even though it takes 10 years to be an overnight success, the benefit now is everyone else can learn from what you did and be more intentional about their book, and hire a coach and learn from them and know how to gain more exposure. And you've got your magazine and your ebook. Can you give the audience how to get those so they can learn from you, because you've got great information that you provide in those?
Yeah, so come visit us and keep the conversation going at Navalent, NAVALENT.com. If you come to navalent.com/transformation, you'll find our free ebook on leading transformation. So on a lot of what we talked about in this episode on our playbook on how we go about doing that. You'll also find our Navalent Quarterly, a great magazine that has all kinds of tips and techniques and approaches for leadership and teams and culture and strategy. So, and a great repository of blogs. We've got great video assets. So come hang out at the website, and there's lots of great stuff for you there. I'm also at Twitter at Ron Carucci, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So we'd love to keep the conversation going.
That's awesome. So navalent.com/transformation, and just navalent.com for the information that he provides. Ron, thank you for your thoughts, for the information, for the things to think about for the small and growing business and the ongoing business that wants to take it to the next level. Great information. Really appreciate you taking the time today.
Adam, the pleasure was mine. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. Look forward to the next one. And everyone, thank you for being here on the Entrepreneurs MBA. Talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Entrepreneurs MBA. Download Adam's free book, How to Make More Money in Your Business, at www.freebookfromadam.com.